Hello, my loves, and welcome back. I'm also kind of welcoming myself back. I haven't recorded a podcast in probably 8 or 10 weeks, I think it's been. Um, I know that I, like a lot of people, especially a lot of other empathic, intuitive, sensitive people, just really been experiencing a lot of shifting, a lot of changes, especially internally. And I know for me, I spent a really fair number of weeks there in that midst, having my intuition like almost all of the way just kind of um, turned off, and just really leaning into that season of rest, of change, of leveling up, of rearranging, of recalibrating, and just allowing all of that to take place, even though it was very uncomfortable. Because if you know anything about me, you know that I very much live by my intuition in just about everything that I do, everything from little things to big things. And so to have a lot of my intuition shut off, especially for a number of weeks, very uncomfortable, especially in the midst of really making a solid effort to not get too much in my head and in, logic about things, and still very much relying on, my love and my desires to guide me forward, which is always my North Star. And it's always what I preach for everyone else, to let their North Star be as well. And um, yeah, so just really had a bit of a season there. Um, and I definitely also felt this again collectively. Like, I know I'm not the only one, not just because I've talked so much in conversation with so many other people, but I definitely feel it collectively, a big shift taking place, and people going offline for quite a while, and then um offline, so to speak, with their intuition. And then really, coming back online around the turn of the full moon with the eclipse last week. And actually, I feel like everything was really in divine timing for me, specifically because a couple of months ago, my husband and I decided that, around mid-September would be a really great time for me to fly back to Wisconsin to visit some of, my closest friends and loved ones that are still living there, and my parents specifically celebrate my mom's birthday. And while I was picking out the dates, I did rely very much on my intuition to pick out the dates. And it just so happened that the day after I flew back was when that full moon and that eclipse crested. So, so it was like right after I had just had a solid, 6 to 7 days of just really good downtime for myself, of being in total rest mode, and spent a lot of time doing some really fun, like paintings and artwork and stuff with my mom, and helping her with the garden and being outside and all that fun stuff. And so, you know, everything really specifically for me was really nice, that it at the same time that my energy was kind of like wrapping all back up, the collective energy was also getting all wrapped up, and this new calibration of consciousness was really clicked into place with that full moon and eclipse. And so right after that, I fully came back online, and in really wild, amazing ways that I'm so thankful for and so blessed, and I'm just so ready and excited and grateful to be able to share that with you guys and with all of my clients, in both in energy healing sessions and in sessions where we're focusing more on providing guidance, of all kinds. And so it's been a really, great shift for me. I hope it's been a really great shift for you as well. I have been in conversations a lot the last week or so where it sounds like for some people, what really had been kind of like wrapping up was a lot of relational things. And so that's kind of why I decided to make this episode all about safety, because having safety within yourself, and safety in your authenticity, and safety in your relationships is really the foundation of everything. Safety is um it is energetically the root. It lives in your root chakra. And so as energy comes up from the earth into your body through the bottoms of your feet, the root chakra is the first one of your major energy centers in which that energy touches. And so if that energy is met with any kind of resistance, so if you are feeling or experiencing or holding on to any level of fear or insecurity or doubt, even, or unworthiness or lack, the many faces that fear can take, then that energy will not effectively flow up to the rest of the energetic centers throughout the body. And we don't always necessarily experience it as this feeling of lack of safety or unworthiness or lack. Very often we experience it as it presents itself through one of our other energetic centers. So if you experience it through the sacral chakra, for example, it might look more like doubt or lack of creativity. If you are an artist of any kind, you might say you have like artist block or writer's block. If you experience it more through the solar plexus chakra, you might say that you feel really worried or disempowered, for example. You might feel like you're having some of those knots in your stomach. If you experience it more in the heart chakra, you'll find yourself a lot of times like crossing your arms and like your energetic body's way of trying to kind of protect your heart space. You might also find that like your shoulders are kind of slumped over, that your posture is leaned forward, in the same energetic attempt to protect that heart chakra. You may also feel loneliness, sadness, maybe even a bit of like grief. Um, if that energy is presenting itself that way. If you find that the fear is expressed even farther up into the throat chakra, you may experience it as an inability to connect fully with your truths and to not be able to communicate clearly, stumbling over your words a lot, not finding the right words to say. Definitely that feeling of the feelings are in there, the thoughts are in there, but they're getting trapped. They're not able to come out. Your words are not able to express. Your body and your actions are not able to express exactly what those truths are. And yet, when you sit down and reflect on that and try to reconnect, there may be a challenge reconnecting to that as well. You may find that you're even coughing a lot. Um, I know that I have talked to a couple of people that have had even chronic conditions, chronic coughing, chronic inflammation in the throat, chronic inflammation in the mouth, even um, lots of issues up in their cervical spine as well, tightness and things being out of alignment that way. So if that fear, that fear energy goes all the way up your energetic system to your throat chakra, and that is how it expresses itself. Sometimes it can, be really detrimental in those chronic kind of ways, which is kind of scary, but not, not anything that you certainly can't address if you know what you're doing, or if you have the right resources, the right energy healer, the right coach, the right, person behind you to help you work through those things, and so on. So when we find this, um, lack of safety, especially in relationships, is how it's come up in a lot of conversations that I've been having lately. Again, it really comes back to, um, a place where, people did not, and I can certainly empathize with this as well. I know I've certainly been in my fair share of relationships where I didn't realize how unsafe I actually felt. Because you think when you enter a friendship or a romantic relationship or even a job, a new company, relationships with coworkers, you always have this underlying, hey, all relationships are built on trust, they're all built on communication. And so it's almost like we just kind of like assume that all of those things are there across the board, and you don't realize that they don't really exist as fully as they should, until you catch yourself feeling unsafe to say what you need to say, or to take charge over what you need to take charge of, or to maybe start a project that you want to start, or to have the conversation you want to have, to try something new, even. I think for a lot of people, after that feeling of unsafety and insecurity has gone on, for so long, however long that is for you in any kind of relationship or situation, eventually you come to a place where you are just no longer feeling safe um, to take any kind of action that you would consider any level of risk at all, right? And so it takes away a lot of the creativity. It takes away a lot of the experimentation. And when we don't have creativity and experimentation, we don't have empowerment. We don't have the belief that it can work out, and we certainly don't have joy, right? And so that lack of safety just, it comes out in, I think, more ways than a lot of people think that it does. And so I hope that just listening to this little bit of podcast brings some of this to your awareness so that you can look at some of your relationships and maybe some of even what's going on with you internally with yourself, and bring some awareness to where you are not feeling, completely safe, doing certain things for yourself, taking charge over certain things for yourself, owning certain parts of yourself, owning certain parts of your life, or taking some risks and having some creativity and experimentation and just kind of feeling it out and see what happens. There is there is not only a huge level of healing to be had when you are in a relationship that is completely safe, even when you are just simply engaging, like, I know as an energy healer, I have worked with a lot of clients like just once or twice, so it's not like they know me super well on a very personal level necessarily, but wherever you can find those people, those conversations, those relationships where you can be fully seen and fully heard and fully expressed as your complete authentic self, and to feel completely safe doing that, to feel authentic, genuine trust in that, um, there's so much healing, because we often don't realize how much we were truly missing that until we have it, right? But there's also so much healing to be had in declaring and deciding for yourself that having that level of safety is not just your minimum standard, but it is your requirement. It is one of the foundational requirements for you to enter in any kind of relationship or even contractual agreement. My dog is over here trying to get me to play fetch. I'm like in the middle of a channel. Hey bud, I love you, but I'm doing a thing right now. Can we play later? Can you lay down? I know. Can you lay down? Lay down. Thank you, Ish. Good boy. Here's your best boy. Precious boy. My precious baby panda. Yep. So there is not only this great level of healing in being fully seen, but there's also a healing that you can absolutely bring to yourself when you decide right now to stand in the resolve of your solidity, of your safety, of your ownership, right? When you stand up and you say, look, I have these things to talk about. I have these things to do in my life. I have these things that I desire to accomplish and achieve. And I know that this is maybe even part of my purpose. I feel like for a lot of you that are going to be tuning in, you're going to recognize that unfortunately you have at least one or two or maybe a handful of relationships in your life that are either directly or indirectly putting you in a position where you do not feel like you can even get in alignment with your destiny and fulfill your purpose because those people are not supporting you in that way. They're not encouraging you, and they're certainly not making you feel like going after your destiny and your purpose are safe things to do, whatever that means to you. And so, again, I'm saying this mostly to bring awareness to this, right? And to encourage you to stand again in your solidarity, to make it a point to say, look, I'm going after my purpose, whether you like it or not, because even though I really value relationships, this is my destiny. This is my purpose. These are my heart's desires. This is the way that I desire to live my life. These are the people that I desire to work with. This is the way that I desire for my day to day to look like and the work that I desire to do. This is the money that I desire to make, and this is what I desire to do with it, right? And I'm going to do that whether someone supports me or not. And I'm going to have the conversations I need to have, and I'm going to say what needs to be said, whether someone is willing to hear it or not. Right? When you fully step into that ownership of this is me, these are my values, these are my standards, these are my boundaries, this is what is important to me, and fully claim that and fully stand on that. Right? We talk about this phrase like it's a hill I would die on, right? If it's a hill you would die on, chances are no one's going to shoot at you. They're just going to walk away from you. And that might be a hard thing to hear. You might already be in the process, like I know a few of the people that I've talked to over the last couple of weeks, they're already in the process of exiting some of those relationships and kind of going through some of these death cycles right now where chapters in their life are ending because they've decided already to stand in that solidarity. And yet, because sometimes the breaking of that pattern or the breaking of that cycle or that relationship can feel hard and it can feel sad and it can be met with some challenge, sometimes there's a little bit of that questioning like, did I do the right thing? Fuck yes, you did the right thing. You absolutely did the right thing. Now, of course, it is always healthy and positive and helpful to have reflection, to have self-reflection, and to say, was I being too harsh? Did the words that I use or the way that they come out, maybe that was a little bit more abrasive than I intended? We can look at things like that. But if the situation that you're looking at is like, you know, here's what I was trying to give and here's what this person was trying to take away from me, or, here's where I'm at and here's where they're at, and they're just completely like not a match for each other, vibrationally or otherwise, 2, 3, 4 on my clock right now, you know, then that's where you can fully know, right? And again, I've in many of these conversations I've had, they've been primarily involving romantic relationships in which one person has shown up and shown up and shown up and conversed and conversed and conversed and tried and tried and tried, and the other person isn't receiving it. They're not receiving it in some shape or form. In a couple of these cases, it's not only that the attempts and the energy is not being received, it's also even the case that it's being met with friction, with resistance, with fighting, with arguing, with, hey, that's not good enough, right? And that's it's just an ongoing reflection of the lack of safety that that person feels within themselves that they are projecting onto you and then making you feel unsafe to be your full authentic self. I wasn't planning on saying that, and I don't know who needed to hear it, but it just came flying out my mouth. So there you go. And so it's really important to give yourself credit where that credit is due, to stand in the solidarity of, hey, I showed up and I have showed up as much as I absolutely can. But if safety over my truths, safety over my beliefs, safety over my physical being, safety over my spirit, safety over my destiny, safety over my purpose, safety over my finances, safety over my career, if any of those things are feeling insecure or unsafe because of the energy of another person or another situation, that is a person or a situation that you do not need to be engaged with anymore, involved with anymore. I say this to encourage you, to empower you, to let you know that you are always worthy and deserving of every level of safety in every area of your life, over every part of your life that you are the sovereign over. It is your job and duty to make sure that your kingdom that is your life is always safe, right? Not to put walls up, that's not what I'm saying, but to keep it safe. Not to guard it and to keep positive from coming in, but to make sure that it is safe. And you are coded with that. It's inherent. You're designed for that. And I'm feeling called right now to maybe pull a card really quickly as I kind of start to wrap this up. I'm really looking forward to bringing you guys some little bit of like shorter episodes that are hopefully, just really packing a punch in the short time that we get together. So funny. And so if you didn't know, I'm gonna fix this a little bit. If you didn't know, um, as part of my intuitive channeling, and I do this even as I'm meeting with some of my coaching clients and even with energy healing clients. And in fact, more often than not, I really combine all three. I combine energy healing with intuitive channeling with coaching. I do it all in packages, and I wouldn't say that every session follows necessarily the same exact formula, because every day for every person looks a little bit differently. And so I offer these very bespoke experiences for each of my clients in that way. But one of the things that I like to do from now and again is pull some oracle cards. And this one that I pulled here, for whoever needs to hear it, says inner stability. When life becomes uncertain, I ensure that I love myself even more. That foundation of self-care sees me through all the ups and downs of this amazing journey called my life. So, like I said in the beginning, let love guide you. Let love guide you. If you are standing solid in your safety, in your beliefs, in your truths, and you can say, with 1000% ownership that you love the way that you have built yourself from the inside out, and you happen to have a person, maybe a community, again, maybe a job, a boss, a manager, a coworker, whoever or whatever it is that is projecting their fears, insecurities, their lack of love into your situation, and you take that in by experiencing that same kind of like, oh, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in this. Maybe I'm not safe in this. Maybe this is a thing I shouldn't talk about. Maybe this is a part of me I shouldn't, let out to the world. Whatever that is, come back to that place of love. Come back to that place of compassion. Remember, Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh says that compassion is not only the willingness to relieve suffering, but the ability to relieve suffering. Notice where the places in which you are feeling unsafe, and hold those as if you were holding like a crying child within your heart. Come back to that place of love. Come back to that place of stability. Remind yourself, no, actually, I am right. And it's not about being right. It's about being me. It's not about being right. It's about being who you are. It's about being justified. It's about being ethical. It's about being your best self and doing the best that you can do. It's about being fully supported and loved by yourself, first and foremost, right? And then allowing that same experience to come in from other people as well. And for some of you who have really struggled with this concept of true love, or with inviting and allowing and experiencing true love, not just a lust, not just I love what you can do for me, but a true love just for being who you are. When you start to love on yourself more and some of that true love starts to come back to you from other people, it feels kind of weird at first, I'm not going to lie. It feels a little like for me, I definitely went through this little period of time where I was almost waiting for a shoe to drop. I was almost kind of waiting for someone to be like, yeah, you're a little bit too weird for me. um I've done that a few times, and yet it never happened. Never happened. Sure, I mean, I've had friendships come and go, and jobs and coworkers and things like that come and go. Maybe even some burned bridges. But if at the end of the day, I always knew that I was standing on my inner stability, that's the hill that I died on. And I'm okay with that. And I want you to be super okay with that too. I want you to know that you, again, are the sovereign who is designed to reign over the kingdom that is your life. And so that safety has to come first. And in order for you to be able to fully blossom in all of the ways that you're meant to, you need to feel safe just at like the bare minimum level of being able to say and do whatever you need to say and do at any given point in time. Right? It all kind of comes back full circle. And I hope that this also encourages you to maybe ask yourself sometimes. I wrote down this question earlier as I was channeling some of the points for this episode today. What if I just showed up with all of me everywhere I go and hold nothing back? Right? What if I just showed up like that? Just showed up as all of me and let all of me out like a loose cannon, completely unhinged. Here I am. This is what I'm about, and this is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm fulfilling my purpose as me. This is how spirit is expressing itself as me in all that I am. It's not, if you listen to some of the last couple of episodes that I posted, I talked very much about how it's really, we think that so much of life is in the doing. We think that so much of our purpose and our destiny is in the doing, but really it's in the being. So much of it is actually in the being. It's just in being all of who you are, and then just like doing what you do because of who you are. Right? And so start to think about those things, maybe even journal about those things, in the coming days. Encourage yourself to step into that solidarity. I also have some space right now in my schedule to take on a couple of more clients for a few packages. And I'm certainly not the healer or the coach who is here to, shove a 6-month program down your throat if all you really need is 3. So again, as I was saying before, a lot of what I do is not only very holistic, but it's also very bespoke. And so I very much encourage you, if this is a place in your life where you are at right now, just to kind of looking for some guidance and some directionality and maybe some accountability and some support and some love. I would be super honored to hear from you and to see whether or not we are a good fit for each other. So I very much encourage you to click the link wherever it is around this video or in the show notes that will take you to an email address or phone number. You can shoot me a message anytime. You can also get a hold of me through my social media channels. And in this next episode, I plan on expanding on this by talking about how, hey, maybe we can do that later. Thanks. In the next episode, expanding on this concept a little bit by talking about how important it is that we do show up as all of ourselves and that we kind of get out of this very like masculine mindset that we all need to be a specialist in something. The world actually needs more generalists, and so we were designed more as generalists for a purpose. And so I'm looking forward to diving more into that topic with you all as well. And again, very much encourage you to reach out to me for guidance support for some packages. We can see how we can work together to get you kind of recalibrated and back on track with your destiny. I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, the very first episode, as it would be for the new branding of the Soul Fulfilling Prophecy podcast. Again, I love you so much. I'm so grateful you're here, and I hope to see you again in the next episode. Mwah. Okay, it's enough.